Welcome back. Kopi Kenangan, an Indonesian coffee shop, has secured $96 million in capital from its latest funding round that valued the company north of $1 billion, making it the first food and beverage unicorn in Southeast Asia. Thai-born Capital Management led the Series C funding, joined by several investors from the previous rounds, including Hong Kong's Horizons Ventures, Chinese internet company Kunlun, and Facebook co-founder Eduardo Severin's B Capital, as well as a new investor, Falcon Edge Capital. The funding came after Kopi Kenangan doubled its sales in the past 12 months compared to the same period the year before. This year, the company also introduced several new brands to its portfolio, or in 2021. The company introduced several new brands to its portfolio, including Cerita Roti Bread, Chigo Fried Chicken, and Kenangan Manis Soft Cookies. As I mentioned, Kopi Kenangan has become Southeast Asia's first food and beverage unicorn. Now, this was successfully achieved by maintaining a healthy level of profitability at every outlet while reducing the break-even period. And for more on this, Najla Hilabi interviewed the co-founder of Kopi Kenangan, James Prananto.
One of Indonesian coffee chain, Kopi Kenangan, has closed its Series C's first round of 96 million US dollars, or equivalent to 1.3 trillion rupiah. Along with the recent investment, the company also announced the unicorn status with valuation exceeding 1 billion US dollars. And today we have the opportunity to ask directly with the co-founder, James Prananto. Hello, James. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Ola. Thanks for having me today.
Today, we'd like to ask, what is your plan? What is Kopi Kenangan plan after achieving the unicorn status?
First and foremost, I think we all are glad that we finally reached the unicorn status. But definitely, this is not the end game. We still have a lot of things that we need to do. But regarding what is the immediate next step is there are a few things. One is definitely continue store expansion. So for people, you may know that last year we closed our stores at 422 stores. This year we will close at 600 stores. And hopefully by 2022, we will end the year with 1,000 stores. And on top of the expansions, of course, we want to invest in our other brands. So aside from Kopi Kenangan, we actually have multiple brands that we are working on. One is Cerita Roti, which is our pastry brands. And then second one is Chigo, which is our fried chicken brands. And lastly, recently launched, it's Kenangan Manis, which is our soft cookie brands. So basically in 2022, with the funding, we also plan to actually expand our presence with our brands. And then probably the last thing that we also want to do is for international expansion. Because again, I think the dream of Kopi Kenangan is not to be only big in Indonesia, but then we also want to go international.
Okay, so there will be a lot of plans. You want to go international, but Kopi Kenangan is the first F&B, new retail unicorn, combining online and offline channels. Can you actually tell us more about the business model of the Kopi Kenangan?
So two things. I think the first one, many people ask us why we are able to achieve unicorn at a quicker status. I think one, when we came into the market, we saw a missing gap. I mean, in 2017, if we realized that most of the coffee shops were like the international brands that were selling $3 to $4 cup of coffee. At the same time, I think your next best option is probably your RTD in the mini market or supermarket. But there's no really anyone playing at $1 or $2 coffee. That's why I think we saw that missing gap. And then we also, in a sense, disrupt the business of a coffee shop where previously the major players, they have a big space, 100-meter plus space with with quick Wi-Fi, and then change the model into a smaller space, which is in fact our first store is only 10 meters square. So with that smaller scale, then our operational costs, our capex, um, and our rent cost is also smaller. And on top of that, it allows us to actually scale much faster because the investment cost is lower. So I think that was one of the things that we did. We disrupt the legacy business model. And then secondly, as you mentioned, as a new retail, we also have our own Kopi Kenangan app. We have 1.8 million users. It is the number one F&B apps in South Asia. So that also helps us with our growth, especially during the pandemic, where we can actually target our customers more customized offerings rather than one size fits all.
And James, now you have achieved unicorn status. But let's look back a little bit. That Kopi Kenangan is quite young, starting in 2017. You guys started with one shop in South Jakarta. Talk to us about your journey, how you started, and the start. Did you think that you would make it this far in such a short time?
Yeah, so I think again, me and Ed, when we first started in 2017, we basically saw that missing gap in the coffee industry, where people who is trying to find a good affordable coffee, they didn't really have any options. It's either your instant coffee or your RTD from the mini markets, or your next best option is your big coffee chains that sell $4 or $5 worth of coffee. That's why I think that missing gap is what we were trying to attack. And of course, I think one other thing is our products, because our products is the Kopi Kenangan Mantan, which is coffee susu with palm sugar, and I think that's make uniqueness in terms of the products offering, because at that time most of the coffee shop they just sell your regular americanos and lattes. That's why with our palm sugar coffee, I think we were able to bring a new offering to the market. So not only in the pricing, but also the product itself.
Okay, James. And today, how many outlets in Indonesia, if we talk about the updates? And actually, are you expanding your target market today?
In terms of outlet, we will close this year with 600 outlets. And again, as I mentioned, next year we want to target 1,000 outlets. And then in terms of expanding the market, there are two ways that we are looking at. I think one, locally, we want to expand not only coffee. That's why I think we launched our pastry brand, which is Cerita Roti and Kenangan Manis. And then, of course, fried chicken with Chigo. I think all of our brands has great potentials. For example, Cerita Roti now is already in almost 500 Kopi Kenangan stores. And then Chigo itself, it's already in, we already have 40 stores. And then probably next year we will close with 200 stores of Chigo. So definitely there's still a lot of market in Indonesia. And then we want to expand using our, not only with Kopi Kenangan, but our other existing brands. And of course, another avenue of growth that we are looking at is international expansion. So hopefully by end of 2022, we will be able to actually open our first international stores.
Wow, it's very nice. You would like to expand the products, the market into a global market. But James, actually, we've heard that the pandemic has been a challenging time for Kopi Kenangan. If I'm not wrong, your revenues dropped 50% at the start of the pandemic. Tell us about your strategies during the pandemic and how you've managed to adapt during this time.
I think with most businesses during the pandemic, I think they suffered a lot. And then it's just a matter of how they navigate through it. I think with us, one of the strategy that we did was we understand that our customer behavior was changing, so we need to adapt. And one of the change was actually where prior to the pandemic, maybe most customers are in offices in the SCBD area. Now with the pandemic, people are staying home. That's why we need to get closer to our customers in terms of our outlets. That's why in the last year we continue to expand, but instead of offices and malls, we actually expand more into rupos and gas station, because those areas are closer to the housing areas. Hence, we are closer to our customers. So that was actually one of the main things that we did.
All right, James, we need to dig more about the Kopi Kenangan, but right after the break, we'll talk later about the Kopi Kenangan's contribution in promoting local coffee.
All right.
Stay with us. Okay, now we're still with the James Prananto, co-founder of Kopi Kenangan. And James, hello, are you still with us?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. James, Indonesia has massive potential in its local coffee production. Talk to us about the Kopi Kenangan's contribution to promoting local coffee.
I think, as you may know, as an Indonesian brand, we only use Indonesian coffee. So throughout our journey, we work with many farmers from different regions of Indonesia. Up until today, we have used 435 million grams of coffee. That's actually our contribution to the coffee industry in Indonesia. Our coffee ranges from Aceh, Sindikalang, even Flores, and some other areas.
James, there is significant increase in the number of coffee shops in Indonesia in the last 3 years and the increase in domestic coffee consumption in Indonesia. How do you see this? What do you think about this trend?
To be honest, I think this is a trend that we've seen in other countries here. As countries grows more developed, I think there will be more retail coffee stores. Because historically, if we see other nations, usually coffee consumption, they start with instant coffee because it's the cheapest. But then after the countries experiencing economic growth, then we will see these people who has more disposable income, they want to try something better than the instant coffee, than the RTD coffee. They actually want to try the freshly brewed coffee. That's why I'm not surprised there's an increase in retail coffee in more coffee stores. And to be honest, it is a trend that we are expecting to continue.
All right, James, in your opinion again, what is the potential of the F&B startup sector in Indonesia right now?
To be honest, I think the potential is big. If you see, of course, we were one of the first F&B startups who got institutional funding 4 years ago. That was when we got our first funding. But then if you see in the last 4 years, there are so many food startups that get more funding. Because I think now institutions realize that F&B, a good F&B companies can actually experience the same amount of exponential growth as other startups. So that's why I think there will be a big potential here.
Okay, a big potential in here. And James, what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs who want to start out in the F&B sector?
To be honest, I think one is trust your products. Because with F&B, I think at the end of the day, of course, price matters, but then I think number one is products, right? Because if you have the cheapest product, but then your product is not good, people will not come. So I think one, just make a product that people will love. And then probably another second one is, I think, try to start. Because I see many people who they have ideas, but then they don't dare to start. But then if you don't dare to start, how do you know where you will end up?
It's very great. And James, despite of go global for Kopi Kenangan, what is your target in 2022?
I think one is, of course, we want an international expansion. And then two is expanding our brands. Because with Rita Roti, we only launched in late 2020. And then with Chigo, we only launched in early 2021. So we feel there's a lot of potentials in them. Especially looking at the early numbers is very, very encouraging. So I think 2022, we just want to make sure that all these brands are reaching their potentials.
Okay, James Prananto, the co-founder of Kopi Kenangan, thank you for sharing with us. We hope all your targets will be achieved in 2022, and for the next, in the long term, Kopi Kenangan will be success always, bring the Indonesian name in the global area. Thank you so much, James.
Thanks, Wala, for having me.